The City Council meeting on Tuesday, September 11th focused on several important topics, including a proposed tax increment reinvestment zone, incorporating all of downtown Kerrville. The proposed ordinance passed with a 3-to-1 vote of the Council, with Blackburn, Eichner, and Siegerman voting in the affirmative, and George Baruti voting no. Vincent Vocal recused himself, citing a possible conflict of interest. His father owns property within this designated zone. Council chambers hosted a lively discussion between Baruti and the city's consultant, but a lot of misinformation and confusion was also spread. Let's dig down into this TIRZ business and see what it's really about. The TIRZ proposal comes in response to and in coordination with the city's 2050 Comprehensive Plan. This plan, which was created with input from hundreds of citizens over the course of dozens of meetings over 9 months, prioritizes the improvement of and reinvestment in our downtown. Establishing a TIRZ is a concrete step toward that goal. The TIRZ will provide a funding mechanism to carry out the mandate created in the comprehensive plan. So what is a tax increment reinvestment zone, or TIRZ? Let's start with a quick review of how the city collects money to do its jobs. As you'll remember from our previous videos, the city gets its revenue from 3 primary sources: property tax, also known as ad valorem taxes, sales tax, and service revenue. Property tax is assessed on all taxable properties within the city limits. In the 2018 budget, the city plans to receive about $10.9 million in property taxes, or about 19% of its total revenue. When a TIRZ is implemented, this is what happens. The city draws an imaginary line around a certain area, and they take note of the total tax revenues that are currently coming in from the property owners within that zone. That's called the snapshot of today's revenues for that zone. After the TIRZ is approved, any extra money above the snapshot amount is applied to a special fund. The tax rate doesn't change at all, so there are no new taxes being applied to these property owners. But through natural appreciation of values, plus the appreciation that happens when new buildings are built or existing buildings are remodeled, the revenues from that zone start to naturally increase. So everything before the snapshot still goes to the city's general fund, but all of the extra or incremental revenues from that zone go into a special fund called the TIF, Tax Increment Financing Fund. Here are a few other facts to remember. A TIRZ does not affect the tax rate within the zone. It has no impact on the taxes you pay if you own property within this zone. The TIRZ does not change the zoning requirements and regulations within that zone. All it really does is say, okay, for all the dollars we collect over and above the snapshot amount, we're going to apply those to a new economic development plan within that zone. The goal of these projects is to revitalize the area in the zone, Kerrville's downtown, supporting the mission set forth in the comprehensive plan. So what does that money get used for specifically? The Texas State Legislature sets out the rules for this in Chapter 311 of the Tax Code. Projects can include roads, sidewalks, public infrastructure, demolition, building facade preservation, affordable housing, school buildings, and a few other public good projects. In Kerrville's case, our plan includes a mixture of the following: water facilities and improvements, sanitary sewer facilities and improvements, transit and parking improvements, street and intersection improvements, open space, parks, and recreation facilities and improvements, economic development grants, and the associated administrative costs to support these projects. The estimates shown here are just that, estimates. The city has said that these amounts and percentages may be revised in the future. One question that has been raised is this: why aren't there more specific plans so that we can understand what types of projects will actually be implemented with this money?
Is there really any reason to create the zone prior to having not a preliminary, but an actual project plan, so that the businesses that are in the zone, as well as the people that are outside the zone, could actually make an informed decision on whether this is a good thing or a bad thing,
Unfortunately, the statute basically dictates that these are the processes and the steps that you go through. And the first step is the creation of the ordinance, the creation ordinance, which is that boundary term, the TIF board, the participation, and then a preliminary project and financing plan.
Right.
It's preliminary at this point, and then the TIRZ board makes the determination as a recommendation back to the council, and there's a separate ordinance, and so that's spelled out and scripted in the statute. So you really can't put one in front of the other. But I would say that the preliminary plan is a start, and if there's to be changes to that plan, the appropriate place would be in the TIRZ board and in the 2 readings of the final project and financing plan.
We'll do the plan, but the longer that we wait, then we lose yet another year of capture of increment. And there's really no risk, because at any time you all can dissolve it, and it's not going to be accumulating any significant funds, as you heard, for 3 to 5 years, unless there's some big project that comes in that we don't know about. So so I don't think there's any harm in going ahead and proceeding as the law allows, because you can still say, King's X, this really isn't working out for us. If you feel like the plan doesn't work for you, or there's, for whatever reason, you have that liberty.
Another term that's been thrown around during this discussion is eminent domain. What role does eminent domain play in a TIRZ? The correct answer is there is no additional threat of eminent domain under a TIRZ. You see, today, the City Council always has the ability to invoke eminent domain if they so choose. Adding a TIRZ does not increase the constitutional authority to implement eminent domain in any way. The bottom line here is that a TIRZ has nothing to do with eminent domain. It neither increases or decreases the ability of a city to use eminent domain. In summary, we believe the tax increment reinvestment zone is a positive step in the right direction for Kerrville. During the exhaustive comprehensive plan process, the citizens stated over and over again that downtown revitalization is a priority, and this TIRZ is a step in that direction. Without a funding mechanism, there's little that can be done to help achieve the goal of a vibrant downtown. But with the TIRZ in place, existing taxes will be used more effectively towards this goal. We encourage council members and voters to support the TIRZ.